All right, let's get right into it. India's 2026 budget is so much more than just a set of numbers. It's really a blueprint for a massive transformation. I mean, we're talking about tearing up the old tax rulebook for the biggest overhaul in over 60 years, pouring record-breaking amounts of money into infrastructure, and making some really serious bets on the future of tech. So, you gotta ask, right? What's the master plan here? You've got these three giant pillars: a new tax system, new infrastructure, and new technology. How do they all fit together to build the India of tomorrow? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of the reforms, we've got to set the stage. You really can't understand a plan this big without looking at the engine that's supposed to power it. So, first up, let's take a quick look at where the Indian economy is right now. And the first thing that just jumps out at you is the sheer momentum. The government's own economic survey is projecting that the economy is going to grow somewhere between 6.8 and 7.2%. Now that is a big deal because it keeps India squarely in the top spot as the fastest growing major economy on the planet. Think about that. It's the perfect foundation to launch something this ambitious.
And you know, it's not just about that top-line growth number. If you look under the hood, the government's own finances are looking pretty solid. Revenues are climbing, and get this, the number of people actually filing their income taxes has shot up. That tells you two things. More people are joining the formal economy, and tax compliance is getting better. And all of that gives the government the cash and the confidence to make these big moves.
The story is just as good when you look at how India is doing on the world stage. Exports, they're at a record high. Remittances from Indians abroad, the highest in the world. You add that to a mountain of foreign exchange reserves, and it's like having a really, really strong financial shock absorber for whatever the global economy decides to throw at you.
Okay, so the economy's strong. The foundation is set. Now for the main event, the massive shakeup in the tax system. People who follow this stuff are calling it a triple transition. We're talking about a complete overhaul of direct taxes, a tune-up for indirect taxes, and a whole new approach to government spending. And the absolute biggest piece of this, the one everyone is talking about, is that they are finally replacing the Income Tax Act of 1961. I mean, think about that, a law that's been around for over 60 years. Over time, it's just become this tangled mess of rules, exceptions, and language that's almost impossible to understand.
And this slide really says it all, doesn't it? The old law was like a tangled, messy rulebook that's been patched up 100 times. The new one? The whole goal is to make it a modern user manual, something clean, simple, and actually understandable for the average person in today's economy.
And this is where it gets really practical, especially for anyone who's ever filed taxes in India. This is all about making compliance easier. How? Well, for starters, they're slashing the number of sections from over 800 down to 536. They're getting rid of confusing terms like previous year and assessment year and just calling it a single tax year. All the rules for TDS, now they're all in one spot, not scattered all over the place. And here's a big one. If you miss the deadline, you can still claim your refund. See the pattern? Every single change is designed to remove a headache for the taxpayer.
Yeah, let's just stick on that tax year idea for a second, because it sounds small, but it's huge. Before, you had to keep track of two different years in your head, the year you earned the money and the year you were assessed for it. It was confusing. Now, it's just one simple period, April 1st to March 31st. That's it. That one little tweak is going to make life so much simpler for millions of people.
All right, so they're fixing the tax code to make it easier to collect money. The next logical question is, where is all that money going? And that brings us to pillar number 2, a massive investment spree to build the India of the future. But, and this is important, they're trying to do it without racking up a huge national credit card bill.
And when I say massive, I mean it. The number is just wow. We're talking about a proposed capital expenditure, or CAPEX, of 12.2 lakh crore. Now, just to be clear, CAPEX is the good kind of spending. It's not for day-to-day expenses, it's the money that builds things that will last for decades. Think new highways, new railway lines, new ports.
So if you follow the money, where's the bulk of this record-breaking investment headed? Well, the two biggest chunks are going straight into transportation. Roads and highways get a huge piece, and so do the railways. It's pretty clear the top priority is to make it faster, cheaper, and easier to move people and goods all across India.
And this isn't just numbers on a spreadsheet, right? This translates into actual physical things you'll be able to see and use. We're talking about more than 400 of those new Vande Bharat Express trains, new freight corridors built just for moving goods, opening up new waterways, and even 7 new high-speed rail corridors to act as, like, economic superhighways between cities.
But here's the really tricky part, the big balancing act.
While they're spending all this money, they're also trying to be responsible with the nation's finances. It's called fiscal consolidation, which is just a fancy way of saying they're trying to shrink their budget deficit. They've set a target of 4.3% of GDP. That sends a strong signal to the world that even with these huge ambitions, they're serious about keeping their financial house in order.
Okay, so we've covered a simpler tax system and a huge infrastructure push. That brings us to the third and final pillar of this whole plan, and it's all about the future. We're talking about India's big bets on technology and innovation.
And right at the top of the list is something called the Bharat AI mission. Now, this is really ambitious. It's not just about, developing a few apps. The goal here is to build an entire AI ecosystem right there in India, from the ground up.
And they are putting serious money where their mouth is. 50,000 crore. That money is earmarked to build out India's own computing power, to help design AI chips locally, and to support the whole ecosystem. It's a huge statement of intent.
Next up, we pivot from digital tech to green tech. The budget is also signaling a major push into a really critical area for the planet: carbon capture.
They're planning to spend 20,000 crore over the next 5 years specifically on this. Why is that a big deal? Because technologies like CCUS could be a game changer. It's a way for a growing country to keep its industries running while still hitting its climate targets. It's really about trying to have the best of both worlds.
And these big missions, AI and carbon capture, they're part of this bigger picture, this vision for what's being called a Viksit Bharat, or a developed India. The whole shebang also includes doubling down on making semiconductors, giving huge tax breaks to build more data centers, launching new markets to help female entrepreneurs, and even securing sources for those critical minerals that power all our electronics.
And really, this quote from the finance minister sums it all up perfectly. The idea is to balance ambition with inclusion. It's about shooting for the stars with technology and growth, but also making sure that everyone gets to come along for the ride.
So there you have it. The blueprint is on the table, it's ambitious, the numbers are absolutely historic, and the vision is clear. But here's the big question that hangs over everything. Having a great plan is one thing, but can they pull it off? Especially with all the economic storms brewing around the world. Can perfect execution turn this grand vision into a reality? Well, that's the multi-trillion-dollar question, isn't it?